Hello everyone, and welcome to round 2 of the 2013 Mopar Canadian National Road Racing Championships from Autodrome St-Eustache, just northwest of Montreal, Quebec, and presented to you by Laval Harley-Davidson. I'm your series announcer, Frank Wood. In this episode, we highlight round 2 of the Harley-Davidson XR1200 Cup Series from Sunday, July the 7th. This national championship round is presented by Dealey Harley-Davidson Canada and by Mopar.
Okay, the riders in the XR1200 Cup now have completed or are completing their warm-up lap. Looks like there might have been some trouble with Taylor. Michael Taylor's got problems. Fast qualifier, Michael Taylor, number 15, has pulled into the pits.
Copy.
There's no rollout for this. This is a live start. It doesn't look like Taylor's going to make the start. Mackey's Harley-Davidson sponsored rider set fast qualifying time yesterday, scheduled to start on the pole position. He's getting off the motorcycle. It looks like he's done. Something has gone very wrong with that number 15 bike. What a heartbreak. Okay, we'll go back to the grid now and recognize the fact that Taylor is not there. Crevier on the 1. Darren James on the 29. J.R. McCrae, you'll remember him from the sport bike race, taking second spot. Now he's out on a big V-twin Harley on the number 27 machine. He starts from 4th position. J.P. Schroeder on the 181 bike. Blaise Fougere in the middle of the final row. Well, I will wager that Darren James right now is probably cursing inside his Air Eye helmet. That was probably the worst start I've seen Darren James execute in quite some time, and I'm getting the nod from a number of fans along here who have seen this racing before. Darren James not very good on the launch on that one. Crevier, on the other hand, was his usual self. Launches very, very well indeed, and I believe it was J.R. McCrae that picked up his tracks heading into turn 2. Here comes your race leader, Steve Crevier, in the Motorsport Plus of Kingston sponsored XR1200.
Camera 1, go with the first.
And that is J.R. McCrae, who has moved into second spot. And do my eyes deceive me, is that by chance the eel? It is Eli DeCache on the number 53 bike, holding on to third place there. He rides for Outaouais Harley-Davidson, not far from the nation's capital. But a little downstream from there, of course, is Kingston, Ontario, and that is home of Motorsport Plus, Harley-Davidson of Kingston, and that is the shop, the Harley-Davidson store that Steve Crevier rides for. And this whole weekend, as a matter of fact, is brought to you by a Harley-Davidson dealer. It is Laval Harley-Davidson of Laval that presents this weekend here at St-Eustache. McCrae in second, Eli DeCache in third. James is holding on to 4th place. Blaise Fougere now in 5th, with J.P. Schroeder holding on to 6th spot. Here they come again. Well, we'll see whether the young upstart J.R. McCrae can catch up to the veteran Steve Crevier. That's the order they're running in right now. Crevier up front, with young J.R. McCrae running in second spot. But in 4th spot right now is the rider I would urge you to keep your eyes on, rather. That is Darren James, and he is riding right now like a man possessed. He is not very pleased with himself at all after that poorly executed launch, and he's trying to make up for it. He wants a podium position desperately. Eli DeCache, meanwhile, doing a splendid job out there, riding on a motorcycle with coaching and mentoring from Steve Doc Walker.
When they come to camera 1, so there's leader second.
Darren James running very, very bravely right on the back wheel of the Outaouais sponsored Eli DeCache. And heartbreak city for Mackey's Harley-Davidson fans, as Michael Taylor has had some kind of difficulties on the warm-up lap. He didn't even pull up on the starting grid. He simply pulled into the paddock area and shut off the motorcycle, and a few seconds later dismounted. Something was amiss for sure. A shame to see him not out there after setting fast qualifying time and putting Crevier in his place. Taylor, by the way, will be coming to the podium nonetheless, because we do have, of course, the Tactical Products Canada Pole Award. James around the outside of Eli DeCache, but doesn't quite get it made. Darren James now pulls up right alongside. They were side by side going through the bowl. Now they go into turn one. Handlebar to handlebar. They peel off to the left. It is Eli DeCache still in front of James as they head into turn two. He was able to squeeze his line right there and take the inside line right at the apex of two. James had nothing to do but fall in behind him. He was making a valiant effort at a pass, but there was no room to get it done. Now onto the back straightaway once more. Darren James running in fourth spot in behind Eli DeCache. They are in pursuit of your race leader, Steve Crevier, and second place runner, J.R. McCrae. J.R. McCrae on the Ruthless Racing entry, Darren James on the Ruthless Racing entry, and of course, Steve Crevier for the third year in a row riding for the Kingston Harley-Davidson dealer Motorsport Plus. Motorsport Plus of Kingston, Ontario, hooked up with Steve Crevier, the multi-time champion and former number one plate holder in sport bike racing in the United States of America as well. As JP Schroeder continues to work at his craft and improve his lap times all along. That amateur rider now stacked in a field of professional riders and doing a splendid job out there, increasing his speed and lowering his lap times with every go-round. Crevier, McCrae, DeCache, and James. James squirts it right into the inside. A beautiful move by Darren James. Left no room, no retaliation left there. Darren James, the working man's hero. What a beautiful move. 2, maybe 3 laps he worked at that, lined him up, made sure he had the momentum on the exit of the corner and give it a big old handful of Harley-Davidson horsepower to get right up on the inside of DeCache. DeCache simply had nowhere to go. If he tried to turn in, it was going to be collision time, Mom. So he wisely held onto his line. He had to let Darren James pass him. Now his work is cut out for him. Now the rules are reversed. Eli DeCache has got to catch Darren James. Through the infield once more with pretty even spacing between these riders as Steve Crevier winds up the power on that 1200cc V-twin and proceeds on his way. He's the only rider out there with a clear field of vision. And James puts paid to that pass. Not only did he get past Eli DeCache, but he's also putting some pretty considerable distance between himself on the 29 bike and DeCache on the number 53 bike. Ruthless Racing supporting both Darren James and J.R. McCrae. JP Schroeder riding for Harley-Davidson of Montreal. Kingston Harley-Davidson Motorsport Plus is the sponsors behind Steve Crevier, and right now he's got their motorcycle up front just where they like to see it. Shop owner Steve Bray is here to watch his man in action. Bray actually has been following Crevier around pretty closely, getting down to Daytona to work on his crew. And of course, Dan Thompson having his hand in that Kingston Harley-Davidson as well. Blaise Fougere, as we have mentioned, enjoys the support of a number of Harley-Davidson dealers, including Privateers Harley-Davidson Halifax, Mile 1 Harley-Davidson in Newfoundland, Harley-Davidson of PEI and New Brunswick as well. The Atlantic Harley-Davidson retailers have all gotten together behind that number 80 machine. And John Larson, former owner of Harley-Davidson Halifax Privateers Harley-Davidson it's called, can quite often be seen at the racetrack. I know he was at Shannonville. I wouldn't doubt for a moment that he's here today with us. And so many of these Harley-Davidson retail dealers find great value in being involved in Canadian road racing. And certainly the Harley owners groups, hog groups, have been coming out to watch these XR1200s in competition. That 1200 motor, of course, is basically the same motor that Harley-Davidson puts in their Sportsters. Only they put it in an XR and give it a little bit of dirt track styling. Now they put it onto a road race track, and the rest, as they say, is history. The XR series has been warmly received in the United States of America as well, and in Great Britain it has found a warm home in the British Superbike series as well. Here in Canada, of course, this is our third year of association with the Daily Harley-Davidson XR1200 Cup, and it continues to be one of the fan favorites. And this class continues to be one of the fan favorites. A lot of it has to do with the sound of the motorcycles themselves. Once they get going past the grandstands, you can actually feel the vibrations right in through your seats. Blaise Fougère on the number 80 bike. Well, virtually each and every rider in this particular contest is into a rather lonely rider. At this point in time, there are no personal duels on the go. We had a great one going on there between Darren James and Eli DeCache, but once James got past DeCache, obviously, as you can see, DeCache has not been able to keep pace with the number 29 bike. Meanwhile, J.R. McRae, who has already scored a podium position in the Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike National Championship final, looks like he may be on his way to perhaps another second place finish here today. A little early to start counting chickens though just now. Fougère goes by once more as into the infield. Now comes J.P. Schroeder on the Harley-Davidson of Montreal sponsored XR1200. Schroeder getting faster and faster with each appearance on the circuit. CEO of a composite company. Schroeder's a suit on Monday morning. Meanwhile, it's not long now before we see race leader Steve Crevier, and unless my eyes are deceiving me, I got a sneaking suspicion that both James and J.R. McRae are starting to close the distance up a little bit between them and the national champion Crevier. But for a very brief moment on the starting line, Crevier has had the race lead virtually from the get-go here. Very clear field of vision. Now chances are with his with the pace that he's setting, there's a good chance that he could catch up to J.P. Schroeder before this race is done, as J.P. Jean-Pascal Schroeder bring that XR1200 in through the infield in front of the main grandstands once more. Race leader, there he is, national champion number 1, Motorsport Plus sponsored Steve Crevier. Banks it over through the right-hander, then the left-hander that brings him up onto the bowl. I expect you fans will be tuning into CSBK TV later on today and catch this footage, as we right now have 4 cameramen around this racetrack capturing all the great footage for you. And if you're stuck in one position, of course, you can't see all the way around, but you'll be able to catch the whole shebang later on this evening on csbk.ca. The Harley-Davidson race, our Hindle Exhaust Sport Bike race, as well as the Honda CBR 250 and the Mopar Superbikes. They certainly have evenly spaced themselves out around this racetrack. That is a for sure. Now Crevier coming through the infield and straight towards the camera stand in the bowl. That's 181 Schroeder. ...16-lap contest, and if I'm not mistaken, the last lap flag is being ready now, so this thing is winding down. And not a huge amount of drama building up in this one, as we noted the number of XR1200 Harley-Davidsons on track that have spread themselves out quite evenly. We do not rather have any personal duels on the go. While we anticipated the pace of the fast boy from the foothills, J.R. McRae, we thought that perhaps he might be able to catch up to Crevier, but thus far it has not been the case. However, having said that, Crevier is coming up on lap traffic now, and J.R. McRae is still at pace, as is Darren James. James has definitely closed on McRae. Last lap flags coming out. Lap rider, Crevier gets by. James and McRae running in that order. Harley-Davidson of Kingston, Ontario is Motorsport Plus, and they are sponsors of that man, your champion, Steve Crevier, with McRae running solidly in second now. James trying to make that last-ditch effort, but it isn't going to happen. They both got past the lap rider cleanly, and McRae sticks out his leg, inviting James alongside. So that's two second-place finishes for J.R. McRae now. So the race win goes to Steve Crevier in the Motorsport Plus XR. Second spot to J.R. McRae and Darren James in third. Both of those riders on the Ruthless Racing sponsored XR1200s. Eli DeCache ends up in fourth spot after holding third for so long in that contest. He riding for the Outaouais Harley-Davidson dealership rather, just outside the nation's capital. And of course the unknown story of Michael Taylor. We'll see if we can get some fast-footed friends to get down into the paddock and have a chat with the good folks from Mackey's Harley-Davidson and indeed Michael Taylor, and find out what the heck happened there after sending fast qualifying and winning the Tactical Products pole award. Something happened on the warm-up lap, and Michael Taylor was unable to make the start. Meanwhile, as the checkered flag awaits, for those that didn't see it, Crevier just rode his motorcycle up on top of the pit wall and then jumped it off the wall. Does a bit of a standy as he comes to the starting line and puts the front brakes on the XR, lifting the back wheel way off the ground. And in spite of being somewhat over 32 years of age, still Steve Crevier still celebrates on a motorcycle like an 18-year-old. Here we go. Oh, we were waiting for the burnout, but that Pirelli DOT gets too much gription. It's not going to break traction. Okay, I think we're going down for a live podium now. We'll look for confirmation on that. I don't know whether they're going to move it to the end of the day because, again, we are under a bit of a time gun, and we'll wait for a call on that one. Scheduled next, as far as your entertainment value goes, is the Mopar Pro Superbike National Championship Final. 17 starters scheduled, including J.R. McRae. Now, keeping in mind that JR already scored a second place in the Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike National Championship Final and then pulled off a second place in the XR1200 Cup. Boy, this guy's day is not over yet.